drink my coffee at the moment because my phone's leaning on it. So, with the cost of living crisis and droughts, don't know, the world, is in it's in a tough pickle at the moment. What with stupidity from Russia and things like that, and what we've also coming out of COVID and things, and as we've already seen in supermarkets, the craft beers selections have been reduced, and only the macro or the near macro, the massive craft breweries now are basically producing craft beer for supermarkets. So the reason for this, are we about to see a resurgence in traditional beers? Traditional beers obviously don't contain as many hops as the likes of the craft beers, so they are generally a lot cheaper to brew. And a lot of these breweries, the likes of Fuller's, Shepherd, Neame, Marston's, etc., can brew massive quantities, at a much cheaper price and get more profit per bottle than any craft beer producer, with the exception probably of Beavertown and Brewdog, simply because they've got the capacity to brew massive amounts. So yeah, this coffee with Wraggy. I mean, for me, I personally think that, and not only that, but with people's spending is going to be limited this year by some margins. A lot of people are going to be struggling. Scary times for people, for all of us, I think. Unless you're mega rich, but it doesn't really affect you, apart from tightening the old shoelaces a little bit maybe. But for the vast majority is on a low wage, it's certainly going to be an interesting year, especially if you live in an old house or houses that aren't well insulated. And I mean, I live in 100-year-old house, and our house is absolutely pitiful for holding heat. Certainly holds heat this time of year, mind you. But yeah, so what do you think? Are we? For me, because traditional beers are cheaper, I personally think, not everyone, but a lot of those that are already looking at what craft beers cost, 4 or 5 quid a can, versus somewhere like Tesco's, 4 beers for 6 quid. And not all the beers, traditional beers, are low quality. There are some absolute stormers in the 4 for 6 quid bracket. So it's not the case that it's all the rubbish beer. There are some absolutely genuinely brilliant beers at that price that are just traditional beers, not the craft stuff. And when you look at the likes of imperial stouts and stuff, beers that are costing £10, £12 for one chuffing bottle, there will always be buyers. But for me, I think there's a massive resurgence going to come in traditional beers. I mean, they already are more popular than craft anyway, but I certainly think that on the whole, that's going to be the thing. And if you look at the likes of Aldi, they've now gone for the specialist selected range, and that, to me, they see also that that there's a need to do this and to use proper breweries who brew decent beer at a cheap price, i.e. St. Peter's, Shepherd and Neame, Marston's and so on, to to supply the demand for beer, because there's still be a demand. But I do see that a dip in the sales of craft beer, as also possibly a dip in the pub sales as well. Obviously, still better than blooming COVID times, but certainly a dip nonetheless. Do you agree? Do you disagree? always interesting. And we need some bloody rain again. It's gone dry again these last couple of days. Everywhere's starting to green up, only starting though. We need proper rain and get the beds nice and moist. Yeah. Worst drought since '76. Yep, I can feel it. You can tell it is as well. It would happen on the year when I've done so much work, and it's a bit disheartening at times. But persevere, I will. I dare say, in the end, I'll win with plants and stuff. But just looks like this is going to be a blip year. Well, let's hope so. We had it last year, in 2019 we had a 3 month spell with no rain, and it certainly looks like this is going to be the norm in this day and age. I mean, over there, just in the background, the leaves are dropping. It's green leaves dropping off the trees. Green leaves, not dead leaves, green. So they're shedding their leaves now, and they already have done it in my other workplace where there's chestnuts. They're shedding their leaves. So yeah, scary times. Cheers, all. See you soon.